Hello and welcome, this is John from smallfilmfactor.net, aka Confusis. Today we're going to be doing some Designy stuff, yay! So, a couple of weeks ago I managed to pick up two micro ATX socket 2011 motherboards, along with a Xeon processor. So I was planning on going to Zen or Ryzen this year. However, this kind of changed the plans with the price that I paid for it. So the aim for today is kind of get a basic design together as to what I'm going to be doing in the for my build, because I'd like to scratch build a case because it's been some time since I've done such a thing. So welcome aboard everyone on YouTube, and I suppose we'll get into it. So everything you see on your screen right now is the parts that a general idea of the parts that I'm going to be using for this. So I've got an SFX power supply, a somewhat stock socket 2011 cooler, 6 2.5 inch drives, they won't all be solid state drives, some cards of some description, and the motherboard. Now this motherboard is from an unknown it's an unknown manufacturer. I can't find any information on them whatsoever. However, with some trickery, I've managed to get them working, so I'll just roll with it. So as you can see, it's just a generic 2011 board, couple of PCI Express 16 slots, 4 RAM slots, 6 SATA ports, and not the best rear I/O, but we'll roll with it. So let's get going. So I could go for an aftermarket cooler with this. However, I'm thinking a somewhat low profile design for this, so the OEM cooler might be quite useful here. It's a 60mm fan, which is quite noisy on the standard one, but if I go and buy a Noctua 60mm fan, it should work quite nicely. Hopefully. So the whole idea behind this is a somewhat quiet workstation for doing video editing. Whoopsie. Somewhat quiet workstation for doing photo editing, video editing, writing the articles, of course, and a little bit of gaming, and of course future streaming. And my model's a little off. Oh well. Close enough. Are we low enough? This one might be a little bit more boring than the previous game stream, because games are fun. However, feel free to ask questions on the YouTube chat. I'm more than willing to answer them, as long as they don't have anything to do with anything that's under a non-disclosure agreement or NDA. Also, private business information, not going to happen. So what I'm moving on our resources page on our forum, we have this model. Actually, I'll import it and show you guys. And I believe James has used this in one of his streams as well. So this is a model created by a user I unfortunately can't remember the name of, and it's basically a 2 specification blank model for all computer motherboards and graphics cards sort of thing. So it doesn't cover over height cards or over length cards or other oddities such as that, but the board sizes and card sizes are as per specification. So it's very handy for doing design work where you get exactly what you need out of it and just maybe make some adjustments to suit your particular hardware. I've been using that particular model for years now, and as you can kind of tell, this motherboard was built onto that particular model. Now keep in mind I am no design expert, so this won't be to the same. This won't be to the same technical standpoint as James's designs. However, this will be just a basic kind of, this is where I'm heading with my design, rather than a full, this is how you do sheet metal design, this is how you do the bends, that kind of stuff, which is fascinating. I don't understand a word of it, but when James, aka Biphobia, streams, he has quite a lot of that information in, he covers quite a lot of that information. So this is just a stand-in model for my current graphics card, start again. What my current graphics card is, which is a Gigabyte GTX 750 Ti, 2GB OC, low profile, and about a million other acronyms, because that seems to be the trend these days. Which on this motherboard looks kind of anemic. But it works with the cooler height quite well, so interesting. Get that in place. So in the final plan for the system, I plan to be running a discrete graphics card, which will be, I'm not sure if it will be the GTX 750 Ti. I'm waiting for a low profile AMD series card. I'll be running a HDMI capture card so I can pull video off my camera as well as do live streaming stuff. And if I'm testing motherboards, it's useful to be able to capture images out of the BIOS using that particular setup. As well as that, I also plan on running a discrete sound card. But this will be all well into the future. So whatever the problem is, that I will design this case now, but whether I decide on full height or half height cards will decide in the future. Will decide what capture card and sound card I can run in the future, as well as the graphics card, obviously. So at the moment, I'm running in a InWin BL series case. I can't remember the exact name of it right now, which is a micro ATX but low profile case with a TFX power supply. So I'm quite enjoying the. I think people use the term pizza box style, where it's quite wide and square, but very, very slim. It's kind of an idea of a layout. The problem is I'm tossing up between using the SFX power supply, a TFX, or the new HDPlex stuff, so the 300 watt AC to DC and the DC to DC stuff. But I don't actually have models for those. So as you can tell, the SFX power supply looks huge on this build, which is amusing because an ATX one is even bigger. One moment. Power supplies. Might be a moment. There we go. So we've got a couple of other options here. So this is a close enough model to a TFX power supply, just ignoring the little protrusion on the back end of it. I'll just fix that. So nobody likes a protrusion on the back end. Oops. Dull. So we've got that as an option, which is TFX. Now, I currently have a 300 watt version of that by Seasonic and another one by Powerman, which I believe was OEM'd by Seasonic anyway. And Silverstone's releasing relatively soon a TFX, a black TFX 300 watt. So there is quite a bit of options in there. The problem with the TFX power supply form factor is you're limited to an 80mm fan, so yeah. Yes, this is SketchUp Make 2016. To the question asked in the YouTube chat. Keep in mind this is SketchUp, so if it does crash halfway through the stream, that is to be expected. I've lost count of the amount of times I've managed to crash this. That's a Flex ATX power supply. I also have one of those in 150 watts, but you can get them higher. And the other one I was going for, 1 second. That's what I was looking for. So the thing with the Silverstone TFX 300 watt is even we weren't expecting it. So we've got a contact in Silverstone that is where we've been getting the review samples from, and they made no mention of it whatsoever. So it completely surprised us when it turned up, and when Drew was at CES, he took a photo of it, sent it to us, and was like, we were quite shocked. It's good that there is the alternative. Like, we're still getting these extra choices in the power supply form factors, because for a while development had kind of got stuck with only SFX, which does limit us in case design a bit. So this is the power supply options. As you can tell, ATX is just, well, stupid. Go away. So we've got the SFX, TFX, and Flex ATX. This is the options for the integrated AC to DC, DC to DC kind of thing. I could go for separate units. However, I don't know if I need the complexity just to get the form factor the way I want it. So it's easier to get at the moment a higher wattage power supply in SFX. They go up to 800 watts thanks to Silverstone and Lian Li, pushing the numbers quite high. TFX, I haven't seen anything over 300 watts, and same with Flex ATX. One of our YouTube watchers wants to see the HDplex combo. I'll quickly see if I can get that off our resources. One moment. So the HDplex combo is interesting. They've got the AC to DC bit, which takes your mains power in and converts it to DC power to go into your the second part of the design, which is the DC to DC unit, which plugs into directly into the ATX power supply, power connector on the motherboard. How are we looking here? This is the first time I've actually fully looked at this one. Whoops. That's embarrassing. So as you can tell, the HDplex unit is quite small, which is fantastic. That's smaller than Flex ATX in both the height and length. And is it smaller in the width? It's about the same in the width. That's 300 watt model. So we've got the option, I believe G-Unique does a higher wattage. Currently on the forum we're discussing what to call these things. I think the DC ATX form factor is what we're calling them. It's the Pico PSU, where it plugs directly into the ATX 24 pin. But I believe the 160 watt HDplex unit is here, which is another option, which is a standalone PCB that you have to run cables to the ATX connector, which does add complexity, but it also adds flexibility. So there's quite a few different options nowadays with the AC to DC stuff, and it's actually fascinating how quickly it's evolving right now with HDplex and G-Unique one-upping each other. So this is the DC to DC part of the HDplex unit. It's so little. So really with yes, DC to AC, DC ATX I think is the correct term, or else we end up getting into a sellotape / Kleenex issue where everyone calls them Pico PSUs, which we have been doing for years, but that's actually a brand name. So if we can change that to DC ATX, we can cover everything and not offend anyone. Well, we'll probably offend someone, but that's just life. I'm actually feeling the HDplex stuff right now. I'll go for that. So this HDplex has, I'll just confirm this because I'm not 100% sure. With everything, with all of the rush around CS this year, I didn't actually have a really good look at the HDplex stuff when it came through. In the middle of writing about so many other articles. Mm-hmm. 300 watt driving 2 GPUs. Well, the design looks like it's got 2 GPUs, but it's actually just modeling a dual slot single graphics card. And in saying that, 300 watt power supply is good enough for, say, dual bus powered graphics cards and a decent CPU. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, the system specs will be a 95 watt Xeon, 4 DIMMs, 6 2.5 inch drives, which will be probably a couple of SSDs, and the rest of them will be just laptop mechanical drives for more archival stuff. Probably a bus powered graphics card, a HDMI capture card, and a discrete audio card. So the power requirements aren't huge, and I mean I've got room, like with the power budget that I've been looking at, I've got room to move up to 130 watt Xeons, but that will obviously increase the thermal load on the case that I design, and I don't want to do that. So the Xeon that I've got is a 6 core 12 thread 1 moment. My memory is not serving me well tonight. 2.5 gigahertz, which turbos up to 2.8, and it's of the Sandy Bridge EP generation. So first generation 2-socket 2011. Okay, so with this HDplex unit, it looks like it takes a lead into it rather than it having the IEC connector on the end. So I could really theoretically put this anywhere in the build that I wanted to. So, I mean, I could put it. This is always the hardest part of the designing a case, is like, how do I put everything in here? Where does this all fit? Like, theoretically, with regular profile memory, I could put the AC to DC unit there, and we've got a relatively compact form factor. Problem with that is I've also got the VRM solution here and the heat of this CPU here, so we're going to have, basically that's going to be absorbing a lot of heat out of the system, and I don't really want to do that to a power supply. So we'll pop that back. for now. And the other major problem that I've got here is, I mean, the DC to DC bit I can put anywhere. It's tiny in comparison to everything else. So, excuse me. Good old SketchUp being finicky. Bloody hell. So we'll just hide that there for now because it kind of makes sense. Oops. So taking it like that, it kind of looks like Flex ATX is a better form factor. However, the difference being is that Flex ATX has a really annoying whiny 40mm fan, whereas the HDPlex stuff does not. So you can kind of tell which one I'm going for when it comes to, you know, audio production, like podcasts and streaming. Because you don't want to hear the fans going all the time, which you probably are already. The current system is not quiet. Which kind of leaves the problem of the hard drives. Now, I don't have to run 6 drives. Now, because at the moment I'm running a 320 gig a mechanical scratch disk for all the ongoing projects, a 500 gig archival kind of drive, and a 240 gig solid state drive. So I'm halfway there to these 6 drives. I'd like to add more mechanical stuff, just like for a couple of RAID 1 arrays. Question in the comment, what is this machine designed for? This will be my workstation, so content production, writing articles, video editing, podcasting, streaming, gaming, pretty much everything. I will be building a NAS later in the year, so it's not critical that I have all of the storage in this system. However, for working on things, it's so much faster if the files are already on the machine. So yeah. I'm only using the 5TB 2.5 inch drives. The one problem I've got with running all my stuff in my main system is that if, say, I have a drive failure, it could take out the archives of all my content that I've created. So I'd like to have a backup on a different system, but that'll be happening later this year when funds allow, because right now we're saving up to go to Computex. Commenter in the thread says NAS with optical disk drive. I'm going to say no to that and leave it at that, because I could get really... Yeah, I'm not going to swear on air. I mean, theoretically, with this system, I probably could run a 4-drive RAID. Could you get RAID 5 on 10? RAID 5 on 4 drives? I think you can. I could run a RAID 5 or RAID 10 on 4 drives and just have 2 solid states, which would be nice, but trying to find, on my budget, trying to find 4 matched hard drives, not so easy. So we're going to go low profile for now, so I'll get rid of these 2. And I'll just kill a few of these because that was only there for the intro thing, which a lot of guys missed. How rude. So I have a couple of options with the drives. Now, there are existing solutions on the market. I think, is it iStar USA? Or Thermaltake? One of the companies does a 6-drive, 2.5 inch hot swap bay, which is basically a standalone... one moment, I'll just see if I can find one for you. It's basically a standalone solution to carry all of the drives, deal with the wiring, deal with the cooling, deal with the sleds. Oops, that's why it's not working. Trying to search 5.35 inch drive doesn't work, just saying. So we've got these units. Oops, one second. Just get rid of my bookmarks bar. There we go. So we've got these units, which are a 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive hot swap unit. So it covers all of the 6 drive all of the mounting that I could need for the hard drives. It also covers the power routing to it and whatnot. The problem with these units is they're cooled, which I probably could disable if I'm running, well, less power hungry drives. So they've got two 40mm fans in the back, which I'm trying to get away with that by not using Flex ATX. So I've got this option. The problem is, for me, they're quite deep, so if it's hard to get let's see if we can get a good shot of it. It's kind of hard to tell, but it seems that the drives only come back to about here, where my cursor is. So it seems like it's a waste of space, and well, small form factor network, we don't like waste of space. So I either use this and waste space, or design my own solution but not have it hot swap. How many watts would be needed to run that hot swap cage? A 2.5-inch mechanical hard drive uses about 5 to 10 watts each. At the 10 watts being your WD Black 2.5-inch drives. Your WD Blues are probably looking closer to 5. Solid state drives maybe 3 to 5 watts. So we're looking at 30 to 60 watts max. I'll probably err towards 30 watts. And that's at full blast. So the wattage that I'm quoting here is spin up wattage. Excuse me. It's a spin up amperage needed to spin them all up in one go. So I don't know if I'll run with that. It's easy but clunky. I don't think I'll run with that option. So yeah, running would probably maybe use 1 to 2 watts a drive, 12 watts. Yeah. Question from Alexander: what GPUs do I plan to run? Well, I'm either running my existing GTX 750 Ti 2GB OC gigabyte thing with a single little 40mm fan, or I'm hoping that someone will come out with a low profile, say RX 460, 470. I probably missed it, or am blanking in my mind as to that maybe one's already on the market. But I might stay with the GTX 750 Ti just for CUDA and video encoding for when we start getting into proper YouTube videos, not just these streams, which will be coming this year. Exciting times, exciting times. So yes, as I said, we don't need to run hot swap. There's no real need to it. It's not the end of the world if my system is down for an hour taking out a hard drive. The important thing is mounting these drives. Just figure out a place to mount these drives and not waste space, because yeah. So one design I have thought of in the past is underneath the motherboard. So what you'd have is your motherboard, you have motherboard tray under there, and then you mount the drives underneath that motherboard tray. Makes them more hidden and oops, not 18 degrees, I want 180 degrees. Yeah. And in case anyone is wondering that is just signed on, I won't be running dual graphics cards. The models that I've got here is just, it's like this because it's an easy way of showing that I'm going to be running single dual slot graphics cards. But I'm saying that I probably could do this. That's 19mm, just to make it a little easier. Wait for it to autosave. There you go, that's probably a little bit clearer. So it's a single card, but it's dual slot, because nobody really makes proper single slot graphics cards at the moment, which really sucks. I miss the days of having I think Sapphire did a HD 7750 low profile single slot, and I ran that for some time and it was awesome. So here we're looking at, I'll just move this to the bottom of the motherboard. So usually I run plastic spacers just because. Galax 1070 single slot. Isn't that a full height card? Yeah, it is full height card. Ooh, that looks cool. I don't think I want to be running a full height card just because I know there are capture card. The other two cards I'm looking at, the capture card and the audio card, I know I can get them low profile, not a problem, and it just makes things smaller, and that's what we're all about. So usually I run, what was I saying about the motherboard standoffs? I either run 12.5mm plastic standoffs for those cases that I just don't have the metal thickness to drill in proper threaded standoffs, or 10mm metal M3 standoffs. So we'll go with 10mm here because I think that's what I'll roll with, and then add another couple of millimeters. No, actually make it 3mm, so just as a little bit extra. Oopsie. So I've actually clicked the button properly. There we go. Oops. So for now I haven't modeled the motherboard tray, but I will soon. I'm just getting a basic design layout before I spend time modeling motherboard trays and standoffs and cutouts and that kind of stuff. If I spend time doing that now, if I get 3/4 of the way through that and find, oh, this doesn't work anymore, I'm going to be really frustrated. So remembering there will be a motherboard tray in the middle here. I'll move in, and just for air gap and stuff like that, move 10mm, 10mm, and then go 80mm. So the way I'll probably do this is I'll have L brackets coming up from, how would I do that? I could have L brackets coming up from the bottom of the motherboard and just having the drive slot into that. I could screw in the drives before the motherboard, but that makes drive replacement right pain in the rear end. Actually, I have an idea. So I add another 3mm. I know, huge. And I will elaborate on that later on. Keep that my secret. Oopsie. Double-sided VM Velcro tape. That's a good point. I don't know how that stuff deals with heat, especially considering 4 of these drives will be mechanical drives. I don't know if that'll be an ideal solution. And I have to admit, I read that initially read that as the 3M tape, i.e. the oops, wrong button. The tape of the gods, i.e. that what do they call it? 6020. The double-sided foam tape, like gel foam tape that you can stick computers to Windows with. Okay. Well, in that case, the newer top quality line is very durable, especially with heat and humidity. Interesting. Well, either way, the extra space that I've added in could account for that Velcro. I know I added 3mm, it probably won't be that much. We'll see how we go. Actually, I'll tell you what I was planning. I was planning on a dual layer motherboard tray where it kind of folds out to replace the drives if needed. But it seems very wasteful in space now that I think about it, so I will just drop these back down 2mm. Gotta go small. And so this will enable me to run the obviously require a custom wiring loom for this particular area, and I mean I'll be running what, maybe 50 watts at spin up time at boot through here, so just a single wiring loom through here is not going to be a problem. Fitting the SATA cables in might be a slight issue, but you can stack them quite nicely and should be enough width in here. I believe you can get that angled ones that'll work quite well too. That's a problem for another day. So you can tell we've got one line of them is made for tropical outdoors usage, like fixing wireless electronic remote devices. Interesting. Alexander asking how I run the cables. So basically I should be able to, like, a SATA connector will only come out to, say, give me that thing. Probably coming out to about here in connector. And then we'll be able to bend it round, so round this way, and then down the center, or maybe 2 runs like here and here going through here. I've done some tests with bending cables sideways and some cable routing designs in that Johnsbow chassis that I have, and it works quite nicely. See you later, Wade. Why not stack them on top of the HDplex? Oopsie. Not that much room there. If I'm going to try and limit it to the height of this cooler, we're kind of limited in space without raising the height here a lot. Also trying to keep the heat, trying to separate the heat creating components a little bit. I don't know, I kind of like that, it looks pretty. I saw some of a tree-like SATA cable. Ooh, that sounds interesting. That's SATA data or SATA power? So that gives us a nice, relatively small form factor overall. So what's our height? What's our overall dimensions so far, excluding the outside? That's 100 mil. Ah, SATA data. That would be interesting to see. 100 mil by, let's make that 29, and that'd be 25. Crap, wrong button. Calculator. So 10 by 29 by 25. We're looking at 7.25 litres at the moment, which isn't too bad. And the small form factor guy in me is just like, can I make it smaller? Wonder what's the efficiency rating on that. 92% efficient on the 300 watt unit. So if we go, this is a 300 watt unit at 92% efficiency, so that's 300 watts, so it's 0.92. We're looking at about 25 watts of waste heat. Now unfortunately I don't know how hot the VRM solution gets on the 2011 board. I haven't really fully stress tested them yet, but possibly could get away with this. I know I said earlier that I didn't like the idea, but it's kind of growing on me. Oopsie. I mean, my current micro ATX system is 11.5 litres. So that's the N1 case, but there is a lot of space because it is a case designed for. It's a case designed for having an optical drive in it, a 5.25 inch optical drive. So there's a lot of wasted space. Alexander, what about putting a putting it under the graphics card? Unfortunately, I'm going to be putting a HDMI capture card and audio card in here. Or if that doesn't pan out, maybe a second graphics card. That kind of reduces the size a bit. There is a bit of a limitation in cooling in here. However, with... do I have any memories? Did I download any memory? I did. No, this is probably DDR3. No, maybe it is DDR3. Cool. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Get rid of that. So like this is pretty much the height of the G-Skill memory that I do have. I won't be going ECC memory on this system. Brian says, I feel like behind the graphics card and beside the RAM slot there's a lot of wasted space. Ah, so up there. Okay. So you're thinking... when it auto saves. Come on. 90 degrees. Really hate when that happens. When you feel like you've clicked a button, but you haven't. Again. So you're meaning here? Top. That'd be interesting. I'm worried that it would be blocking the airflow going from the CPU cooler out to the rear of the case. So it'd be still got to see how much clearance I have on memory. we'll get the memory in. Yeah, I could go for a top-down cooler design as an alternative. However, that's going to increase cost because I don't actually have any around at the moment that aren't review samples. I'm not using review sample parts for my computer because that's not ethical. I'm not Linus. Turn on side to give a few more millimeters for the CPU cooler. Meaning, whoops. Let me get that. Nope. I think SketchUp's a little fiddly when you're clicking buttons. It doesn't seem to register them sometimes. So you're meaning like that? Alright, we'll go back to doing the memory while that catches up. It's the problem with streaming to YouTube is I have like a 10 to 30 second delay on comments from you guys seeing the stream and then being able to comment. It's James has been using Beam Pro, I believe, but then you've got the issues of transcode, like having to move it to this platform. And Brian says I kind of hate SketchUp because of that. I found Space Cone much better. Yeah, Space Cone costs money though. Plus I've spent years and years and years delaying years and years designing in SketchUp, including design contests way back in the day when I was a member of BitTech. Oh, an active member on BitTech. See how that goes. Saying that the delay is less than 5 seconds. Let me see. Yeah, I'm seeing about 15 to 20 seconds on my end watching the dashboard. No, it's gotten confused. Yeah, I'm seeing about 15 seconds. Maybe it's just because I'm down here in little old New Zealand and we're so far away from everyone else. We get the slow interwebs. I think that goes down a little bit lower. I mean, back in the day when you bought a motherboard and the manual says, please insert the memory sticks to hide the golden fingers. I always wondered why they call them golden fingers. Just call them like contacts. What motherboard is this again? This is the quadruple seven. So MS7777. It's a no-name Chinese-made motherboard that I picked up for really cheap. This is the motherboard that I posted up in the Guess the Motherboard thread on our forum earlier in the week. Well, not Guess the Motherboard, like find the manufacturer. So we've got no idea who the original manufacturer is. The MS moniker kind of implies MSI. However, it doesn't match any of their consumer boards. We're thinking maybe it's an OEM product. Maybe. But we don't know who it's for, who the target audience was or anything like that. What's the official brand name? We don't know. I think it was a Yanwei. I think we found it there eventually, but they may just be a designer. This is not like an ASRock or an Asus or an ECS or anything like that. This is third tier. Slight issue. There's no the only model information that I have on this that it's an MS7777. There's no branding other than that. They didn't come in an OEM box or anything like that. There's nothing on the manual implying what brand it is. The manual is literally like 7 pages of just generic stuff, and that's it. That memory seems a little tall. One moment. Skill, Aries, 1866. Room between the RAM and the IO shield. RAM, IO shield? Oh, I see. Yep, I get you. Sorry, it took me a moment. Spec. Why does nobody put up their specifications of memory? Like, height. It is actually from MSI? No, I don't think it's actually an MSI board because it doesn't match anything that MSI has done. The closest we found was a Yanwei, YANWEI. Yeah, nothing seems to match up with being a first or second tier manufacturer. Like the BIOS has a lot of options available that usually are locked down in consumer boards or prosumer boards, such like multiple different specification like options for PCIe bifurcation. Multiple settings for like bandwidth, like it's almost like these are prototype boards in how the BIOS is. Brian says they do have a 7778. Yes, that's a FM2 board for HP, I believe. Still got a height issue. I mean, I could run external brick, but that's kind of cheating. 45 minutes into a live stream on Designy, I still haven't even started designing a case. Well done, me. So we've got that. It's interesting. I suppose we could slot this. Oops, we'll rotate that 180. Actually, I know what to do. Pop it there. If I was going to do that, I probably would design it like this. 90. Put it to the height of that. Drop it down. 10 mil for spaces. Move it into the edge of the motherboard. Actually, no. We'll do it slightly this way. Match the connectors up. Because that would just look cool. So, where are we at for dimensions now? Remembering this is not taking into account any external casing, curves, that kind of stuff. I forgot to include the bracket, the graphics card bracket in the last measurement, so we'll do that this time just so I'm not mixing things up. That's a 60, around there it's a 70 millimeters. 25. Did I do that measurement before? 70, 25, 26. So 7, 25, 26. 4.55 litres. We're under the 5 litre mark for a micro ATX system with full internal power supply. That's not too bad. I'm happy with that. Asking if the PCI is in the right alignment, and it's not. Damn it! That was so cool though. To come to think of it, it's going to be reversed anyway, because the wire, if I flip it around, I could be wrong on this, of course. Oh no, maybe not. I'll just go straight from here to here, here to here, here to here kind of thing. Okay. So there we go. Oopsie. So that's direct alignment right there, which hangs the board out 15 mil. However, that's not really a big deal because I've still yet to add a couple of things to this. Did you measure the top of the GPU or the top of the AC to DC adapter? I did the AC to DC adapter. I'll just do that measurement again. So, oh no, I didn't. 12. Calculator. 25, 26, 12. 7.8 litres. Did we get bigger? Oh yeah, because the height. Hey Drew. Okay, so the added little height here has meant all these other adjustments that we've made is pretty much moot. Kind of want to get down to that 5 litre mark. It taunts me so. Might go back to how it was before, because I'm planning on doing some kind of server style shrouding through the system where it's just thin, relatively thin plastic just guiding the air into certain areas. So I may be able to get away. Oh, the extra height, you should be able to fit the drives in there. Yeah. I'll just cancel that. AC adapter on its side parallel to the GPU. Right down here. The thing is, I kind of want to have I know the modder in me wants to have the as be able to run a case window. So putting the drives above everything kind of won't work for me. I know, I want it all. I'll just pop that there for now. Next to the GPU down here. Or you mean in between the graphics card and the CPU cooler? Yes to watch one. You want option A or option B? Yes. So left of the GPU. The problem with that is I'm going to be putting cards in there. So I'm going to put that there because I'm going to be putting in a sound card and a HDMI capture card in there. So I'm going to put that there just to save the confusion. Yes, I know it looks like I'm running SLI now. Between GPU and SATA ports. Actually, what's the length of the GTX 750? God damn it. GTX 750 Ti Gigabyte LP. Not the best search terms, but we'll get there. I want to figure out if these are the correct length or not. Which I don't think they are. Spec. The real problem is, did Gigabyte measure from the end of the inside or outside of the PCI bracket? So they're saying 161 millimeters long. So to give them the benefit of the doubt, because I know what these people they like to do. View, component edit, hide rest of model. Nope, too far. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, and I will limit this to the PCB length of 161. Oops. Takes us to, where are we? There. So we're not actually gaining very much in space. Yeah, that's not very much in space, so I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, if you use Silverstone's low profile cables, there'll be a bunch of space on top of the SATA port. Yep. What I was trying to work out there is how this is going to fit in there. I suppose that's one good thing about doing CAD instead of just like designing by paper, is you can just move this around instead of redoing everything. So I've got the problem with it being too long there and hitting the memory, and too wide. If we flip it around 90 degrees, it's still not gonna fit there. Unless I'm getting confused as to what you're saying, of course. Wait for that to save. This is why the world needs low profile, yeah, RAM. Yes, it does. I suppose the advantage of this is that this board takes DDR3, so it can get low profile. Problem being is this board apparently is very fussy in regards to memory, which a lot of the cheaper boards are. So I don't know if I go and buy a whole lot of low profile RAM for it, will it actually be compatible? So I'd rather play it safe, just designed for full high memory, and yeah. If I knew the board was like say first or second tier manufacturer and would support it, I'd go for it. But yeah. So we got. See you later, Brian. We've got 99 millimeters, which works perfectly in with my idea. Yay. Do I have one saved? What about case? I'm getting there. Don't have one downloaded. One moment. Cooling, air, standard fans. Hmm. 70, 60, 60, 80, 120, 92. Import. Two. So I've really got two options when building this. I've got 1 or 1.5 mil aluminium, or 3 mil acrylic. 3 mil acrylic is cheap. I can work with it easy with the tools that I have on hand, and well, it's easy to work with. I've worked with it quite a lot before, and been quite pleased with the material. So I built, I think Micro was one of my previous case builds out of acrylic, and it worked really well. God damn it. Aluminium a little bit harder to work. However, I can get tighter bends, thinner material, so I can get it closer together. That's I really like how that's there. Kind of conflicting with that. See how bad it is. Okay, right away. Dang. Raise the DC board above the fan height. Because I'm still going to have issues with the connectors and the inputs. Unless I move the fans forward. Because right now we're looking at about that. Because if I can lower the fans down, but it's kind of pointless having the airflow down here, really. More than what it already is. But I am thinking of an alternative idea. When I just figure out something. Oopsie. Because HDPlex also does the DC ATX power supply, which basically means it's a Pico PSU style one. So I just plug it straight into here. So I do have that option, and with a bus powered graphics card, that is easy. I don't actually have a model downloaded. Let's see if there's one in our resources section. If not, why isn't there? Friend what? Child supplies. Okay. We don't actually have a Pico PSU style power supply on our, or a DC ATX power supply on our resources section on the website. It's okay, I have an alternative source for those things. Where are we? There. Righty, so file, import. It is wide, yes. The 34, only 25mm of that's coming up from the other towards. When it autosaves. Oh, great. Shadow info issues. That's cool, I'm not using shadows. Where's it gone? I really hate when SketchUp does that. It's like, hi, I'll click here for it to go here. Now I'm going to put it out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so I'll just double check that. This it does overhang quite a bit. So, where's the motherboard? Okay. I was just double checking that I modeled this correctly. The latch is on this side, so oops. I mean, this is only just for visual representation. It's not going to be, this being a very old model, it's not going to be accurate for modeling the HDplex unit. So with the excess, so we can get there, use that gallery. There's a good picture of this. So the HDplex, this is the 160 watt, which should be sufficient, or close to, with my system. Sort of. What I've got here, I did have the HDplex website up, because there's also the option of going with the G Unique model, which is similar size but can apparently handle up to 400 watts. Right, that's it. So as you can see there, with the heatsink, there's a lot of overhang on this side. However, the catch is on this side. You got all of this hanging over, all of this stuff. So, which actually no, it would work for me. So we're going to take into account this hanging over the side. So if we look at here, this model's a bit messed up, but we'll kind of guesstimate. I'll just get that up again. How wide is that? Where's that side shot again? Basically, I'm not going to be able to put any fan in the ATX area, the ATX plug area, which kind of limits me in this. Oops, somehow managed to do a 180. That's cool. That's cool. However, there is a. If we just go back to the other idea, we could just run a ATX cable. Oops, that one. While this would be cool having a direct plug straight down, it's not. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I'd rather run a higher capacity unit so that I don't end up with stability issues. There you go. Let's use 60mm fan. I've calculated 20. You've calculated 25 millimeters of hangover. What say you? It's hard to tell without having one in hand. So yeah, but looking at the little connectors, I've had them on a 12 volt power supply before, and yeah, 25mm sounds about right, hanging over the end of the ATX plug. I could use 60mm fans. However, I'm going for a quieter system here, so to get the airflow. 92s. I suppose I could go for 80s, but kind of like that. Because my whole idea is like airflow going from front to back. So this one will be helping to cool the graphics card and the chipset. And this would help just guide air through the power supply, through the CPU cooler in the HDplex area and the VRM area, and then out the back. So I think was it the Mac Pro that used air guides? I'll just find a picture of what I'm thinking of. Did I hear correctly when you said the 160 watt direct plug could handle up to 400 watt? Not the HDplex one, he's not rating it to that. G Unique, I believe, was claiming their 160, 200 watt Pico style power supply could cope with 400 watts. I may have misread that. One moment. do some more research while I'm streaming. Where is our vendor subforum? Vendor marketplace. Doop, doop. My internet's playing up. No joy. I'll try that again. So G-Unique is one of the other vendors on our forum, and they're claiming that this particular power supply can handle 400 watts. But I believe it's a 12 volt unit, which kind of negates the ability for me to use the HDPlex 300 watt power supply. So yeah, because basically with a 12 volt DC ATX power supply, you've got the ability to just pass through the 12 volt through a relay of sorts, which means you're not modifying the voltage in any way, so the current capacity can be significantly higher. I mean, on a 12 volt, I think I had an 80 watt 12 volt Pico PSU, and I ran 200 watts through it for a sustained period, just because most of the load was on that 12 volt rail. So yeah. The problem is trying to find a 12 volt internal brick is nigh on impossible, so I'm gonna roll with this. So dimension time again. So we've got 280, we'll make that 283 deep. Make it 29 deep, 10 high, and 26 wide. 28, 10, 25 to make it 26. 7.3 litres, so we haven't actually got anywhere in dimensions, but it's still under that. What about using a Meanwhile EPP 400? I don't know what the dimensions of those are. Oops. What's that dimensions? Oops, that's the 48 volt model. We don't want the 48 volt model. We want the 24. Sorry, the 12. EPP 400 12 volt. Comes to two form factors: 102 by 51 by 127 by. Okay, so let's model these. So we've got 102 51 and 127 76. I assume the larger one would be the cheaper one. Drew, do you know if they need active cooling, or will they just will they cope in just passive airflow? Okay, so that one's, the larger one is smaller. Okay, so I can drop 5 mil off that height. This is just for a quick test because obviously we'll have to... Looking at them on the net, it looks like they need you need to make your own chassis for them. Whew, $110 US. That's kind of pricey. Interesting, interesting. Getting spammed in the background. $72. So that'd be US dollars. So I'm looking at... Yeah, I was looking at the price on Mouser. 72 US, that's about $100 New Zealand plus shipping, because I'd have to source it from the States because we don't have that kind of stuff here. Interesting, 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 interesting. I suppose with using the G-Unique 12 volt and one of these meanwhile EPP 400 power supplies, I would have to make a custom metal enclosure for the power supply to eliminate EMI. So I've got that challenge as well. I'm making sure that's all electrically safe. I don't know if I trust myself with that. Man. I've been zapped with 240 volts before at 60 hertz. It hurts. Lol. And I don't want to do it again. I think I'll stick with the HDPlex products for now, unless G-Unique comes out with a brick. Internal brick, which I believe the community is asking the designer to come up with a internal brick, which would be fantastic because it's more options for everyone. Right, so we've got that. Bit of a straight airflow. That's right, I was going to show the air channel idea if I could find it. It's that problem. You want to show someone something and you can't remember the search terms that you used to find it in the first place, or the correct terminology for it. That's not how you spell baffle. Okay, so the idea that I had was sort of like this. This is a somewhat of a rack tower server from HP, I believe. So you've got fans in the front here, and you've got different plastic air guides that come through. So you've got a tall one for the cards, and you've got a lower one that comes through, guides the air just over the CPU heatsink, which, as you can tell on this, has no fan, and then it goes up and out the back. So it's kind of, the idea just, to me, makes it look like it's more a mass-produced product, which I like. If I can pull that off with a hand-built product. Just one of those design things that I like. So, layout-wise, I think we're close to done. How deep is that? We're looking at 282. So that's smaller than what I've got at the moment, so that's great. So at the moment on my desk, I've got my two screens here in front of me, and next to it, standing vertically, is my InWin BL series case. I'd like to keep that form factor kind of over to the side. It's, what's the word for it? It's not hidden, but it's not in the way. Am I making the case from aluminium or acrylic? Good question. Yeah, I've how to put it? It's easier for me to source acrylic in small quantities from local supplies, just scraps, and I've got some sitting around. I've worked with acrylic before. It's quite easy to work with, just heat bending, plain old using a jigsaw for cutting it. I'm very comfortable using acrylic to manufacture, to design and build cases. I've used them before. Aluminium is a bit more difficult to find. Sourcing it around here, you kind of have to buy a full 1.2 meter by 1.2 meter sheet, which I don't need anywhere near that much, and I don't have the space to store it. Cutting it's a bit more difficult, as well as working with it is a bit more difficult, especially considering my workspace here and my tiny little house is quite limited. However, aluminium does have a more professional look, and yeah. I think I'm going to design with acrylic for now. I can rework it later on if I decide to go with aluminium and just use the same aesthetic. So we'll go for the vertical. Now I tend to prefer having the graphics cards and whatnot at the top, and the heavy stuff like the power supply at the bottom. So we're going to roll with that. So this will be sitting on your desk. It'll be about 25 centimeters high. There's drives on the back. Now the cable routing thing, I have to make sure I leave room to go underneath the motherboard, or actually over the top of the motherboard to get to the plugs here. So I'll probably bring the cables through here, over the top, do a 90 degree this way, and then down to the plugs, which I have been successful before with SATA cables. If you twist them, if you bend them the right way, you can actually get them to hold their shape with the right cables. If the cheaper cables or the slimmer profile cables aren't as good for that. So it's a trade-off between thin cables, which fit better, or thicker cables that hold their shape. And just cable ties, all of the cable ties. So for now, I will group that. Why did that not? Nope. SketchUp having a tantrum as usual. So yeah, we'll design with 3mm acrylic or polycarbonate in mind, both of which I've worked with. Probably prefer acrylic. Not as robust. This is not exactly like a LAN rig or something I would take on a plane with me. But if it sits on my desk and doesn't move, it'll be fine. So where are we? So with acrylic, I've found you need to give a certain amount of room with things. So the bluey grey here is the actual cutout that you need to make in the acrylic for the I/O shield. So from there, I like to give it about 20mm. This is where the size of the case starts increasing really quickly, which is a shame. So I like to give at least 20 to 30mm from there, and that's worst case scenario. This is sometimes why I like to have a power supply down here. So we'll go. I'll go 20. We'll play it risky here. And the bottom of the drives there are 44. So we'll go 44. We'll go to 50 here. All these measurements are subject to change, of course. So I'm kind of layout-wise internally, I'm hoping to design this in sled form. So the outside chassis will be like a tube with a front on it, and I can just slide everything out, including the fans, and just make servicing easy. Because know me, I will change components, and quite often at that. So that's 27. We'll go up to 27. Go 30 centimeters. That's too much. We'll go. We'll go there for now. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding about 3mm to each side just to make this a blank, basically the size of the outside of the case. So we like the lid of the back, basically. 106mm, so we go 110. Oops. I wonder if we can go with 10mm on plastic, on the acrylic. We'll go 10mm. I feel safe. Glue or screws. The outside chassis will be glue. Because it'll basically be a rectangle shape in a way, with a front on it. So that can be glued together, and just a couple of rails on the inside just to slide everything out. The back will be in the motherboard tray, hard drive tray, and everything like that will be held in with brackets with screws. And they'll be sourcing threaded inserts for those, because threading into acrylic is, well, it's not going to work. I'll put it that way. It'll work once, and the moment you put any stress on it, it'll just pull out. So we can't have that. So keeping in mind that this design does not allow for low-profile graphics cards with external power, but I'm not planning on using those anyway. I prefer bus-powered graphics cards. It's just cleaner. So I'll just do this as a quick thing. 7mm. 72. Go with that just for the ghost cards. So this is a similar design. Doing this little cutout is similar to some of the in-wind cases where you basically just have that. You've got a flange that sticks out, and you just clamp the graphics cards to the cards to the flange using a plate that goes across the top. It's nice and easy, nothing complicated or too difficult to do. So I've got that. Haven't accounted for curves or anything yet, so I'll do that now. So acrylic, I try and go for 10mm on the curves. That's about the tightest you can really sit. I feel comfortable getting it. Oop, crap. So we don't want sharp edges, because sharp edges just aren't pretty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to design this back piece and then fill all the way forward to make sure it covers every single component, and then just make the adjustments from there. If it works, it works. We'll keep going from there. If not, we will make adjustments and fix it. The beauty of CAD, we're not using materials to do this. We're not having to rub this out every time I make a mistake. That, and I'm pretty sure you guys would be even more bored watching me just scribble on a piece of paper. Oopsie. Okay, so that's the basic shape of the back. So you can kind of imagine that's the outside edge of this particular case. So kind of curved edges, kind of tubular, oh, not tubular, like a rectangle tubey thing. So if we go like this, so that's the outside of it, the case, the whole way down. Now I'm seeing some potential issues here. So what kind of dimensions do we have? 3.7, oh, that's gonna be fine. 3.1. Whew, I cut that close. So, going by that, unless I'm missing something critical, it looks like that will actually work. So basically what I'm looking for here is that everything is 3mm or more away from the edge, the surface that I've just created, because that's the thickness of the material I'll be using if I'm using acrylic. Ignoring, of course, this little cutout here, because that's not going to be like that on the final product. Awesome. That means I can go to the next stage. which is cool because I'm actually designing a case now, not just moving components around like I was for the first hour of this design stream. So much for design. I don't want to do that yet. So something that James made, explained in his last stream that he was doing earlier today or yesterday for other people's time zones, is these cutouts. Actually, I'll move this graphics card. These cutouts here are only the ATX specification guide. Now, technically it's spec, which means they should follow it, but I find HDMI connectors especially have issues with being within these lines. So if I cut out to this rectangle here where the ports are supposed to be, you generally find it's either tight or you can't actually put the connector in. So you kind of give it a bit more leeway than what they're giving you, which is silly, but we find, like, especially with graphics cards now, who knows what the specification is because nobody follows it anymore. So I'm going to get that. I really hate this bit. There we go. So this is just a quick design. I'll be reworking this to actually be to something that I can actually use to cut the acrylic out and whatnot, but this is just a quick design to get the idea down and figure out what exactly that I'm wanting here. And so we'll do this. I'm going to unlock before I forget. What about panel wenting? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, sorry. Where's the blue axis? Don't know what you're trying to do there. Silly SketchUp. I'll go for an extra 2mm there. There. And 4 more there. So yeah, this is going to be like, this is not going to be pretty on the first like hit of this. I will clean it up later. Don't panic. Okay. So now that I've done those cutouts, I could do this. Venting. We'll get, when we get there, we'll cover it. There will be. Mostly, I'm going to try and aim for a front intake, rear exhaust. So there'll be vents over. There'll be vents over here in front of, above the I/O shield. There will be venting on the drive side, just at the rear here. Same with here. I'm looking at probably putting some vents in here, just so it's like a smooth right to the end, and it's like a how to put it. Like reverses on a jet engine, how it's smooth the whole way down and then it's all coming out the sideways out the back. Okay, so let's see if we can get this without it being messy. So while I'm doing these menial tasks, does anyone in the YouTube comment section have any questions for me that I can answer? Feel free. I can answer anything except for stuff that's under NDA. Or stuff that I don't know. It's obvious. Oopsie. Sometimes these tools have a mind of their own. And there's probably some shortcut I could be using to do it, but I don't know it. I'm not a professional. Just gonna be a pain in the butt, aren't you? Yeesh. Yep. I'll do this the lazy way. Yep. Doobie-doop. Doobie-doop. Probably means I'm not going to get a proper cut out of this, but oh well. Usually I'm not sketch-shopping with people watching, so normally I would spend the time to try and figure out why that wasn't working, but no biggie, no biggie at all. That one worked perfectly, like first click. What is this? Alright, SketchUp. Did that let me cut it out? No. Didn't have a feeling that was going to happen. That's the problem with the curves and the panels and the sheet stuff, and sometimes Google just Google. It was Google, it's now Trimble. Sometimes the software just doesn't like to play ball, and you can't get the cutout the way you want it. Has that got it? Only complaint about SketchUp is when you draw a circle as in a circle. That is so true. At one point in time, I did do some design for 3D printing. Got something printed. It was fun and it was a fantastic learning experience. But when it came to printing, when it came out, it was very much a... I don't know how many sides it has, but it was not a circle. Cool, I think I got that, hopefully. So if we go extrude 3mm, I'm not going to design the vents just yet. So we'll go that, and we'll make that a panel. So make group, and just because I am that kind of person, we'll make the color so it's obvious. Yeah. So what I want to talk about with the circle and SketchUp is if you do, I'll just do one here. You can kind of see just on the edges here how there's line. It's hard to see without you seeing what I'm pointing at. You can see it's definitely not a straight proper circle. You can change in the settings how many divisions a circle will be. Excuse me. I believe there's also a way you can change how many divisions a circle will be in while you're creating it. So it's like radius of X and this many divisions. However, it will never ever be a perfect circle. So for 3D printing, that kind of messes things up. And if you try and convert this stuff for laser cutting, I believe that you can also cause issues. So we've got our back panel there. Yay. So we'll probably have, I don't know where I'm going to put the power plug or anything like that yet. But in time. Just check notifications. Go to there. Okay, no, that's what I'm doing. I'll go to the back. And now I kind of want to copy the shape. So, yep. Save that now because I know what Google. I keep calling Google SketchUp. It was Google SketchUp for 3 or 4 years when I was really doing a lot of work in it, and then suddenly it changed. Trimble bought them out. I believe Trimble does a lot of like architectural stuff, measurement stuff as well. A lot of satellite stuff as well, if I remember rightly. Yep. I'll just put that there, put that down, and complete this shape. Bloop. that's right, that doesn't work, does it? Used to. Okay, so that's that group, CV. So once again, this isn't perfection in CAD or anything like that. This is just the way I do things. It's not going to be converted to some step file for sending to a laser cutter or a 3D printer or something like that. This is how I do things. 3mm. Usually I don't have people watching me, so all these little mistakes that I'm making probably don't happen. Let's see how much more we can get done in the next 15 minutes. At some point I do need to go to bed. Cool, so that explode. There's probably some shortcut to doing that. I don't know what it is. I'm doing the shape that I just created. How did I manage that? I moved the whole shape up somehow. Oopsie. Cool. Okay, so we've got they'll probably have to be made in 2 pieces. Or 3 pieces. We'll see what I can do with what material I can source and tools. But that'll be basically a tube of some sort. 271 millimeters. Now numbers like the 271 millimeters bug me when I'm trying to cut something. I got 275. I much prefer nice round numbers. 275. It's kind of an outer shell. See, what I'd like to do for this part of the design is, I really hate how that's there. Get rid of that. What I would like to do is, as an example, and depending on how good I can get with acrylic bonding, is say, let's fill this in with color just because it's easy. Yes, I realise I haven't even finished designing the case and we're talking about what colour I'm going to make it. Weird and wonderful ways my mind works. Can I fill that? Yeah, I can. Doop, doop, doop. And then we go to, what do they call it now? It used to be translucent. Why do I not have a translucent anymore? Glass and mirrors. So just imagine this as, say, a 2-piece design where the orange shell is one piece and the clear bit is bonded, a clear sheet bonded into it. I don't know how feasible that is with the tools that I have to hand. I'm sure I can make it work somehow. But just for now, we'll leave this as just how I'm going to design it because I like the look of it. And then for the front, so what's going to happen is the front will be bonded to the rest of the chassis, and the motherboard, drives, power supply, everything will slide out with that back panel on rails out the back, so I can serve it. So basically, once this was all created, this will be like almost, I don't know, a bucket that your motherboards, that everything slides into. Probably means I could convert it to oil cooling at some point, but no thank you. I don't have the patience for that. As I said earlier, add some lighting, it's done, pretty much. As I said earlier, if you guys got any questions about products that are coming out, like products that we've reviewed or looked at, news posts, forum stuff, anything, I'm here to talk to you. So the whole idea of these streams is just reaching out to the community and interacting with you guys, because we can't do this alone. We're doing this all for you guys. So there's one problem with this that I'm doing, is that the fans are offset. So on the front, it's going to look a little weird. So how I'm going to work this bit? I have a couple of options here. Either I put a meshy thing at the front for the intake, and just have it like a overly, what's the word for it? Like an oval shape. I just find my previous design that I did, video thread. Where did I put that picture? Huh. I did have a picture from the last live stream where see if I can find it quickly. Scratch this. No. I appear to have lost it. Never mind, never mind. Maybe add another fan. The problem is the distance that I've got here is 60, so I would be limited to another 60mm fan. I don't know if I want to have two 60mm fans in the design. So what I was talking about is the previous design that I did in the previous live stream before the last Minecraft one was basically I ended up with, actually that's not centered, so that's not going to be nice. Yep. Go 60 down. Oops, wrong number. 45. Oops. Once again, SketchUp not exactly registering my clicks. If I was an ad developer, he'd be fired by now. Clicky clicky. So basically the previous design that I had was basically similar to that, where it just looks just drew that a bit. The open bit here was mesh, and the rest of it was just the panel, which is kind of cool. Like there's different ways of doing it. You can do formed mesh that it comes up flush with the front of it. You can use fabric stretched over a frame, which is cool and adds the air filter capability to it, which I did do with a previous wood build that I did. But the problem is, even through the mesh or the fabric, you will see the offset fans, and that's going to bug me every day that I see it. So just go back to our rectangle. Oops, too far. So another option that I have is, we'll just make this panel. Oops. Oops. Did I make that a group with that? No. 120, just get that out of the way. So we have, how much depth do we have here? 4 mil of depth. So if we put in an internal sheet metal panel in here, we have the ability where we can do just some cutouts in here to just let air in. So we go, make that 40. These are cheap and easy to, well, cheap and easy, real easy to make. A lot of case manufacturers do something similar when they have just vents down the side. Fractal Design is one that's known for it, where they have intakes down the side of the front panel and just a flat front fascia, which does appeal to me. It's that simplicity, it's that minimalism, which I do strive for, as anyone who has ever seen my house will attest to. It's very minimal in here. Come on. SketchUp, really? Why are you doing this to me? How have I ended up on an angle? Someone explain that to me. Well, you can kind of get what I'm going for there. So if we do that to all the panels, go for the middle. Where are you, middle? There's the middle. 4 mil. We'll go up 100. Yep, too far. Keep in mind, this is just still a overall design model. I haven't added any bracketry, mounting points, anything like that, and I haven't done the motherboard tray. This is just for the exterior, so I can get an idea of what it's going to look like before I put in that effort. Because I'd hate to go in and design again. Oh, there we go. Just spend hours and hours and hours designing the bracketry, the motherboard tray, how I'm going to hold up the power supply, how I'm going to hold up everything and stuff like that, and it gets to the outside and realize, oh, this isn't going to work. I've just wasted all this time. I mean, some of the parts may be transferable, excuse me, to a new design, but, excuse me again, chances are probably not. Yeah, this whole thing's on a twist. Weird. So that's the joy of SketchUp. You can accidentally do stuff where the whole thing is twisted by a small amount. It's not noticeable like that. But the moment you go to draw a line, yep, you're screwed. So I'll do it from the other side, just so get the aesthetics correct. That's gone the wrong way. Has that done the same thing again? Yeah. I've lost the middle again. Oh, there we go. 4 millimeters. I'll go 40 that way. So having the vents on the sides like this just enables the front to be so clean. Also means I'm not cutting something that, because this will be all designed by cut and filed out and everything by hand. I don't have access to a machine shop or anything like that. Everything will be done with a jigsaw, some files, a drill, just mostly hand tools. So it's got to be, while it's got to look pretty, because I mean it's going to be sitting on my desk next to me for its lifespan. What was I going with that train of thought? While I want it to look pretty and everything like that, it has to be feasible. It's not just a case of it has to be manufacturable. It has to be manufactured by me by hand. There we go, we've got the same issue. So somehow I've managed to get the case tweaked by 5mm. No, 5mm, like 1mm. Oh well. Do I do that into there? I think I do. Midpoint. Will you pay ball and be nice to me? You will, yay. Oh, sort of. I said it too quickly. 2.9mm. Damn it. How much will I break it if I do this? Not at all. Awesome. Yeah, SketchUp has some idiosyncrasies that make things difficult. So like that. Why is that left? You kind of get used to them or just work around them, but it does have some idiosyncrasies that, I don't know, it kind of loses that professional kind of feel in a way because of it. So we've got 20, back to where you were. I think I'll leave that white for now. I haven't yet decided on it. Okay, so that's kind of an idea of what it's going to look like. Before I do go any further, I'm going to measure that up. 8 point, make that 9mm. Just make the flange, which is another part that will be, it won't be able to be, it'll be difficult to make because I can't just get a bend there in 3mm acrylic. This is going to have to be an extra bit that is bracketed in, which is definitely easy. It's definitely doable. Just got to work with it. Okay, so this is initial basic aesthetics of the case. So we're standing up like this. I'll do something about feet at some point. I might do something similar to these vents here at the back for exhaust, as well as some venting here. So let's just do our final dimensions. So we'll use these when it lets me and doesn't be a pain in the butt. I hate when it does that. Sometimes these tools just don't want to work. Just don't want to do what you want them to do. Okay, so that's 110 wide. .260 tall. And this is where I get the line drawing tool out. Sometimes to get these to work, you gotta do this. So basic design, this is another iteration of my usual Project Aurora, because I like the name. I've never actually finished a Project Aurora, so I'll probably just jinx the whole thing. But let's see, where are we at? We are at 26 by 11 by 229. We are 8.3 litres. Not as small as I'd hoped, but we've got an internal power supply. We've got decent cooling. It's a full size micro ATX motherboard. We've got space for 4 low profile cards, and it includes the GPU flange on the back, which a lot of case manufacturers don't include when they're measuring their case. They'll measure to here, not here. So if we measure to there, we're looking at 28. So that's what? 11, 26. That's, what was the other measurement I had? I keep forgetting I have a calculator button on my keyboard. 26. So basically I lose 3, I gain a third of a litre just because of that GPU flange at the back. But that's just how it is. That's the measurement style that we use to determine if it's small form factor or not. So with that, I will hit save. It's now been a 2-hour stream, and I'm gonna sign off. So has anyone got any last questions for me before I close the stream for the evening? Any questions at all? What is the name of the app? This is SketchUp Make 2016. So SketchUp, SKETCHUP. It's basically, I love when that happens. It's basically a very basic CAD app where you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours training on it like you do with SolidWorks or Space Claim. Space Claim's a easy one as well. It's a relatively easy one to pick up and learn the basics of. It's hard to master. I mean, I haven't even mastered it. I've been using this program for probably going on 8 years now. So I haven't got the finer parts of it, but I'm not using it all the time like a lot of people will be using SolidWorks or that kind of thing. Any other questions? Oopsie. Come on. Where's my text? There's my text. So most of the models that I've got in here are available on the resources section on smallformfactor.net. These streams are brought to you by our subscribers to the forum. They enable us to spend the time to do this. We're working for everyone in the community because you guys are fantastic. And there's a lot more to come. I'm hoping to stream next weekend, however I cannot guarantee that. We do, however, have our podcast next weekend, and looking forward to that. So I'm going to sign off for the night. Good night to all. Thank you for joining me. I am John, aka Confusis. This was smallformfactor.net, just one of our design streams, and thank you for joining us. Goodbye.